The airport was alive with the restless hum of Christmas Eve. Travelers hurried across the terminal, some burdened with gifts, others with children tugging at their coats. Juliane Koepcke walked beside her mother, Maria, her dark hair tied back, a book about birds pressed close to her chest. She had always loved birds, the way their wings carried them effortlessly through the sky. And now she couldn't stop glancing at the windows where the rain had begun to fall. "Mama, are you sure this plane is safe?" she asked in a hushed voice. Maria looked down at her daughter, smiling faintly, though her eyes betrayed fatigue. "Juliane, it's just 1 hour. Your father is waiting for us. Tomorrow we'll all be together for Christmas." Juliane nodded but kept her gaze on the Lens Flight 508 sitting at the gate, its white fuselage gleaming under the flickering airport lights. As they boarded, the cabin buzzed with laughter and chatter. Families exchanged greetings, children clutched new toys. A man in a brown suit tipped his hat to Maria as they passed, and Juliane noticed 2 boys in the row ahead of them tossing a paper football back and forth. She settled into her seat beside her mother, pulling the seatbelt across her lap. "I still don't like it," she murmured. Maria patted her hand gently. Think of the river dolphins. Remember last time we went to Pocopa? You'll see them again." For a while, Juliane allowed herself to imagine the smooth gray dolphins breaking the river's surface, the sound of water slapping against wooden boats. The plane took off, the city shrinking below them until only jungle stretched in every direction. Clouds gathered, the turbulence mild at first, then rougher. Drinks rattled on trays. Juliane clutched her armrest. "It's okay," Maria whispered. "Hold on tight." Suddenly, a flash of lightning split the sky. There was a deafening bang, and before Juliane could understand what was happening, the cabin tore apart. The roar of wind and metal drowned every scream. She felt herself sucked into the open air, strapped to her seat, spinning helplessly as the jungle rushed up to meet her. "Mama," she screamed, but her voice was lost in the storm. Darkness swallowed her. When she opened her eyes again, there was silence except for the incessant drone of insects. The world tilted around her, green and wet. Her head pounded, her collarbone throbbed, and one eye was swollen shut. She lay on the forest floor, half buried under debris, the seatbelt still clinging to her. For a long moment, she could not move. She listened, hoping to hear her mother's voice, a groan, anything. "Mama," she whispered. No answer. Only the rustling of leaves high above. Summoning her strength, she pushed herself up. Pain shot through her side and she cried out, clutching her shoulder. Her hand came away, sticky with blood. Still, she staggered to her feet, staring at the wreckage scattered around her like broken toys. Hours passed. She found a small bag with candies, sticky and half melted. She put one in her mouth, sucking it slowly. It was the only food she had. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. "If you get lost in the jungle, follow water. Water will lead you to people." She searched until she found a small stream and began to follow it. The first night fell quickly, the sky black and heavy with rain. She curled beneath a tree, wrapping her arms around herself, shivering as insects swarmed her. She whispered again, "Mama, please, don't leave me." Her voice trembled into silence. The days that followed bled together. She walked by day, stumbled by night, always following the stream. Her collarbone burned with pain, and her arm began to swell with infection. She pulled at the bandage of torn fabric, but the wound oozed and crawled with maggots. She gagged, tears streaming down her face. Papa said never give up, she told herself. Never stop moving. At times she thought she heard her mother calling her name. Once, in the shadows of the trees, she even saw her, Maria, standing with outstretched arms. Juliane ran forward only to crash into thorny bush, realizing she was hallucinating. She sobbed, exhausted, then dragged herself back to the river. On the seventh day, she stumbled upon a row of bodies still strapped to their seats. Her heart lurched as she forced herself closer, praying her mother wasn't among them. The faces were unrecognizable, twisted by fire and decay. Covering her mouth, Juliane whispered, "Forgive me," and kept walking. She had no strength left to bury them. Hunger gnawed at her belly, and the candies were long gone. She bent to drink from the river, ignoring the crocodiles that floated like logs nearby. One slithered under as she approached, and for a moment she froze, convinced it would strike. But it didn't. She drank quickly and stumbled on. By the ninth day, she could barely walk. Her arm was so infected she could hardly lift it. She leaned against a tree, her vision blurry. That was when she saw it, a boat tied to the riverbank. She blinked, convinced it was another hallucination. But no, there was a wooden shack nearby. She stumbled toward it, her legs giving out as she reached the door. Inside, she found gasoline cans, tools, and food. She collapsed on the floor, clutching her arm. The maggots writhed inside the wound. Trembling, she picked up the gasoline and poured it over her flesh. The pain was searing, worse than anything she had ever felt, but she gritted her teeth and screamed, "Get out of me!" The maggots squirmed and fell away. She lay sobbing until exhaustion dragged her into unconsciousness. When she awoke, voices surrounded her. 3 men stood in the doorway, staring at the gaunt, dirt-covered girl lying on their floor. "Dios mío," one whispered. "What happened to you?" Juliane's cracked lips moved. I was on the plane." They exchanged looks of disbelief. One knelt and offered her water. She drank greedily, tears streaming down her face. The men lifted her gently and carried her to their boat. As the engine sputtered to life, Juliane looked back at the endless jungle. For 11 days it had tried to claim her. Somehow, she had survived. When she reached the hospital, reporters swarmed, calling her the miracle girl. Doctors treated her wounds, marveling at her endurance. But Juliane barely heard them. She stared out the window, thinking only of her mother. For days she had clung to hope, whispering her name into the darkness. Now she knew Maria hadn't made it. Alone in her bed, Juliane wept. Yet beneath the grief was something else, an unshakable truth that she had been given a second life. She would spend the rest of it remembering the lesson her father had taught her, the one that had guided her through hell itself. When lost, follow the water. Thanks for watching this far. Please subscribe to the channel Talevibes for more such videos.